We're good?
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Cathedral City Planning Commission for April 3rd, 2024. May I kindly ask for a roll call, please?
Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Thompson?
Yes, here.
Vice Chair Malkoff?
Here.
Commissioner Lee?
Present.
Commissioner Lowe?
Present.
Chair Daly?
Present.
Let the record show all commissioners are present.
Thank you so much. I'd like at this time to invite everyone on the dais and in the audience to please stand for the flag salute. Thank you. All right, moving on to confirmation of the agenda. Are there any items on the agenda that need to be pulled or continued to a future meeting?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item 1, approval of the minutes. I'm sorry. Is there a request to speak on this item from the public?
We have no members of the audience wishing to speak.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting from March 20th.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. So,
Sorry,
that almost happened.
that was my
Will you
bad.
move one more time, please?
Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Lowe and seconded by Commissioner Thompson to approve the minutes with Commissioner Lee abstaining.
Great, thank you so much. Moving on to item 2 of the agenda, public comments. The public is invited to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please wait to be recognized under that item. Except for special circumstances, the Brown Act prohibits the Planning Commission or staff from responding or taking action on any comments made by the public unless it pertains to an item that appears on the agenda. All speakers should give their name and city of residence, and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone who would like to address the Commission on a matter not on the agenda?
We have no one in the audience wishing to speak.
Okay. Thank you so much. We will now close the public comments section of our meeting and move on to item 3. That would be, excuse me, sorry.
Sorry, that's my bad.
Item 3A, conditional use permit number 23-007.
I'll just do You just have to pull it up on
On here, okay. Is the microphone on? Yes, okay, great. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dawn Camps. I'm Associate Planner here at the City. So I will be presenting this item to you today. This is an application for conditional use permit number 23007, which is an application for to establish the Palm Springs Elks Lodge on an existing building off Date Palm Drive. So the subject site is located off Date Palm Drive, approximately 500 feet south of Gerald Ford and immediately northeast of the Whitewater River. The existing building is located in a plaza with the Hampton Inn, an Arco gas station, and Jiffy Lube. The project site is highlighted in red. The project proposes to establish the Palm Springs Elks Lodge within this existing building. It's considered a private club and lodge use, which according to the city's municipal code requires a conditional use permit to be established within the planned community commercial zoning district. And I'm not sure I said already, but it's within the general planned land use designation. So here is the site as it exists today. This is the eastern elevation as you'd see it from Date Palm Drive. As I mentioned, the applicant is proposing to establish the Elks within this existing building, which was previously occupied by a bar and restaurant use. The building would be used by the Elks for their lodge and committee meetings, as well as for member services. It's worth noting that it would not be open to the public. It would be for members only. So here's the proposed site plan. The existing building is approximately 7,600 square feet. The applicant is not proposing any changes to the exterior of the building, apart from some minor alterations to the landscaping and to the parking lot, but the general configuration of the site would remain, as well as the building footprint. The site has direct access onto Date Palm Drive, and it also has access via reciprocal agreement with the other tenants of the plaza. Parking is also provided through this reciprocal agreement. So there are 29 parking spaces on site and 169 in the plaza as a whole, which are shared across the tenants. And this would provide sufficient spaces for the 41 required for this proposed use. This is the proposed floor plan. So as I've mentioned, they're not proposing any changes to the footprint and the building, which was formerly occupied by a restaurant. So they're proposing 2 phases of tenant improvements to the interior of the building. The first phase would include reconstruction of the bar in its existing location. The second phase would involve reconstructing the kitchen in its existing location and adding office and storage uses. This slide should be titled Elevations, not East Elevation, but these are the elevations for the building, south and east elevations. These are the existing elevations, but because no changes to the exterior of the building are being proposed, these are the proposed elevations as well. It's worth noting that because the tenant is not, or the applicant is not proposing any changes to the exterior of the building, this item was not brought to the Architectural Review Committee for review. So the Planning Commission will be take the final action unless it's appealed to City Council. Here's the landscape plan. Similarly, this is the existing landscaping and the proposed landscaping. The plants labeled here are what are currently on the site today. It's worth noting that as conditions of approval, staff is requesting that the applicant adds additional shade trees to provide shading for 50% of the on-site parking spaces, as well as additional plants on the southern frontage along the wash, so that's on the top right corner here. And the applicant is also being required to refresh the decomposed granite ground cover on the site. Here are some additional site photos. These are to provide a better picture of what the site looks like today. So as I mentioned, the ground cover will be refreshed. Additional plants will be added along the frontage with the wash. As additional conditions of approval, we are requiring a crack and seal for the parking lot and drive aisle, as well as restriping for the parking lot, which you can see on the right-hand picture. So with this, staff recommends that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15301, Class Number 1, which is existing facilities, and to approve conditional use permit number 23007, subject to the conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I believe we have representatives of the Elks here, so if you have questions about the organization, I'm sure they'd be happy to speak up.
It looks like we have a couple representatives from the Elks here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, just for clarification, are there actually any changes going on even on the inside of the building?
Yeah, so there will be reconstruction of the bar and kitchen in their existing location, but I think they'll be sort of refurbished, and they'll also be adding additional storage and office spaces. So I think the rooms are configured a bit differently right now, but the general layout will remain the same.
Okay. And could you just explain, if only for my own education, why this is even before us. Because it seems to me that functionally what this would normally be is a contract between a landlord and a tenant, and that would be dealt with. There's no external changes to the building. So if you know, like, why this ended up before us, I'd love to hear that.
Well, according to the zoning code for the planned community commercial use, the private club/lodge use requires a conditional use permit. So because of the zoning designation for the site, that currently requires that the legislative body, I suppose, reviews, or the planning commission reviews the proposal.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson, any questions?
Yes, thank you. First, welcome aboard. This
Thank
is
you.
your first time to address the panel. You did a great job, thank you. I have one question. The addition on the landscaping, I didn't see it depicted in the drawings. Do you have any idea what they're going to do along that fence?
Yeah, so this was the landscaping plan that was originally submitted, and the landscaping along that fence was added as a condition of approval, so it hasn't been added to their landscaping plans yet. They would need to add a few trees, perhaps additional mesquite trees, in order to provide more shading, but otherwise, yeah, additional probably desert landscaping along that fence, but not specific proposals as of yet.
Okay, that was it. I'll ask the applicant when they come up. Thank you.
Vice Chair?
I just wanted to clarify one point on the parking. So a couple of weeks ago, we had a project that had a parking issue, and this project does not have the same issue because they have ingress-egress agreements with the adjacent property owners, and they also have parking sharing agreements with the adjacent property owners that go into perpetuity, so that meets the requirements of the long-term parking agreement, right?
Yes, that's correct. I believe because they're easements, it will be in perpetuity. It's not a temporary agreement.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Lowe?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Lee?
Just one, also on parking. I noted you said that essentially the private parking is going to have 50% shade cover. How does that apply to shared parking? Is that parking going to be specifically designated? Will there be signs saying it's for the Elks use? And if so, do we apply that 50% shading to that shared parking?
So my understanding is that there will not be parking spots that are designated for Elks. However, there are some of the shared parking spaces that are within their site. And so the requirement for 50% shaded spots, the condition as it's written right now applies only to the ones within this property and not to the shared parking spots in the rest of the site.
Is that because we don't typically retroactively require that? I assume that the shared parking was previously approved.
That would be my understanding. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? No? All right, thank you so much. You know, before we have the applicant come up, do we have anyone else in the audience who would like to address the commission on item 3A? No? All right. Then the applicant, please.
Speak. Oh, we do have a speaker in the audience. Please state your name and city of residence.
Certainly. Hi, my name is Barbara Knox, and I am a approximately 43-year resident of Cathedral City, living up in the Cathedral City Cove. I also am a 28-year member of the Palm Springs Elks Lodge. I want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to hear us. I want you to know that our Elks Lodge is very active in the community. You may not have seen us, but we've been there. Over the 70 years, that the Palm Springs Elks has been in existence, we were at the old building, which unfortunately burned down with all the memories and the related deaths. It's estimated, because some of this is taken from before we took actual records, that the lodge has actually put about $3.2 million into this community. We support your Shop with the Cops program. We have donated probably close to $24,000 to that in the last 4 years. We've helped with the high school choir, with the library, backpacks to the police association, donated to the fire association. We are varied people. We are lawyers. We are workmen. We are retired. We are young. We are family members. We are veterans. We are looking forward to reinstituting our home within the city that has been our home for the last 70 years. So I hope we will take that into consideration. And if you have any question about the Elks, this is the time.
Okay, thank you. Is there an individual who's the applicant on this project? Hello, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. James Chiaffi, architect. Just here to answer any questions. I appreciated your question earlier, Mr. Chair, about why we're even here, because it is an existing building. It was a bar and restaurant previously, but I guess because it's private, there's a special condition in the municipal code that required it. But we're making no changes to the building. There was a question about the landscaping, and we're working through staff on that. We're going to have to provide some additional shade trees, which we'll provide on our part of the site. We have no problem with that. And in regards to the rest of it, we agreed to refresh the existing landscape plan that's already there and more than adequate. It just needs to be refreshed. The building's been vacant for a while, and a lot of it's missing. And then we did agree to resurface the parking again on our site, and I think there's a street light requirement that we're going to put in as well. But any other questions, happy to answer. I don't know all the ins and outs of the operation. I'm not an Elk, but to answer, I think we heard a question about the interior. The interior used to be a bar and restaurant, and it'll remain that same basic configuration. There was a kitchen in the building that was taken out that's going to be replaced in the same location. There was a bar in the building that's going to be replaced in the same location. And then that phase 2 that you saw in that first diagram that had the angled lines on it, the hatched lines, there's some office space and storage to go in there, administrative space. Other than that, no changes to the outside, and we're anxious to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions for the applicant?
I have one question, and I'm not sure it's appropriate for you or maybe the woman that spoke earlier, but it strikes me we're in the council chambers for the city of Cathedral City, and the previous location of the Elks was in the city of Cathedral City, and the new location is going to be in the city of Cathedral City. Why do we call it the Palm Springs Lodge?
Barbara?
I can help with that.
I'd like to hear it.
When the lodge was chartered in 1953, it was in Palm Springs. When Cathedral City was instituted in, I believe, 1984, the boundaries put us into Cathedral City. So kind of like Palm Springs Ford, we just kept the Palm Springs name. I can tell you that in order to change it to Cathedral City, or perhaps even hyphenate it to Palm Springs Cathedral City or Cathedral City Palm Springs, whichever way we want to do it, we would need to go through the parent organization, and we could do that. It's just simply that since 1953, it's been Palm Springs Lodge, and nobody ever asked the question about changing it before.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You asked about the applicant. The applicant was originally Anthony Villarreal. Because we are a lodge system, people change every year. And so Mr. Villarreal is no longer an officer, so we will probably be substituting myself or someone else in for the applicant.
It's quite all right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. All right. Well, with that, I will close public comment on item 3A, and the chair will entertain a motion.
No discussion.
I'll discuss after a motion.
So I'll make a motion if I can have something to read.
Right.
It should show up now.
On the screen for you.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission finds that the project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to section number 15301, class number 1, existing facilities, and that we approve conditional use permit number 23-007, subject to the attached conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report.
I'll make a second.
All right, any discussion?
I'd just like to say I'm really pleased to see any of our older buildings being repurposed, and I'm sure that it will make a great home for the Elks. So welcome to, well, you didn't go away really, did you? But welcome to your second home in Cathedral City.
We'll have a housewarming.
That'll be good.
Any further thoughts?
If I may, I'd like to just add on to that. Not only welcome to using the facility, but thank you for not moving out of the city. Thank you for continuing.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity I don't know. I think it's better than waiting for commissioners' comments. I'm going to take this opportunity to point out that I think the fact that the Elks Lodge was required to come before us on this particular topic kind of reflects a defect in our code. Functionally, what they were trying to do are tenant improvements. The problem is that because of the way the code's written, they had to expend time and energy to come before this commission. When the result of that is that they're required to do things that tenants in other situations wouldn't necessarily have to do. So while I suspect that we're all going to approve this, and I'm glad that we will, and I'm thrilled to see it, I think that this is a good opportunity for us to, well, this is a good example for us as we look forward to any potential changes we might want to make to the code and fixes that might exist. So with that, I fully support the project, and I'm thrilled to have it. And if there's no further comments, I think we can vote. Yeah? Okay. Second.
Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Lowe, seconded by Vice Chair Malakoff, to approve item 3A. Motion passes with all ayes.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you so much.
All right. As we're clearing out, let's move on to item number 4 on the agenda. That is conditional use permit 21-003.
Okay, good evening. I will now be presenting the application for the time extension for conditional use permit 2100.
Before you continue, do you
Yes.
You're a mensch. Thank you, sir.
I'll pause.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, please continue.
Thank you. Okay, so I will be presenting the application for the time extension for conditional use permit 21003, which is for Palm Cali Industries. So the project site is on the north side of Commercial Road, approximately 700 feet west of Cathedral Canyon Drive. The conditional use permit for Palm Cali Industries was previously approved by the Planning Commission on April 6, 2022. To establish a cannabis cultivation and distribution facility within the existing 7,800 square foot building, commercial building. So I'd like to note that this presentation is for approval of the time extension only, and the conditional use permit itself is not up for review. So here's the site plan that was previously approved with a conditional use permit in April 2022. Conditional use permits expire within 24 months of the original date of approval. unless an active building permit is maintained or an extension of time is applied for and approved. So Section 972 of the Municipal Code permits applicants to apply for a single one-year time extension on conditional use permits once they've expired. The applicant submitted their application in February of this year, and the conditional use permit is set to expire on April 6th this year. So with that, planning staff recommends that the commission approve a one-year time extension of the Planning Commission's April 6, 2022 approval of conditional use permit number 21003, subject to the previously approved conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report. And this would set a new expiration date of April 6, 2025. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
April 6th is my birthday.
It's my mom's birthday.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Any questions for staff? Commissioner Thompson?
No.
Vice Chair Malakoff? Commissioner Lowe?
Just, what's the status of applying for the building permit? I mean, where are they in that process?
I know they
we're
had
going to grant
some-
this one-year extension, but is there any belief that it's actually going to get built out in the next year?
I'm not actually sure exactly where they are in the process. I know they had some financial situations that maybe slowed down their progress originally, and he said they're back on track to keep moving forward, but I don't know precisely where.
Okay, thank you.
Following on that same theme, actually, I drove past this building the other day, as I do with most of the buildings that we see on the agenda, and it's clearly deteriorated in the last couple of years, and there are people sleeping rough on that property. So when approving an extension, obviously there may be circumstances when somebody needs that extra year, but I'd like to feel there's some confidence that we will actually get something done with the property and it's not going to fall further into disrepair. So, yeah, I agree. We would probably approve this today, but it is a concern when something has clearly had no progress over 2 years that was previously approved. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Questions? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to be heard on this agenda item?
There are no members of the audience wishing to speak.
All right, well, with that, I'll close public comment, and Chair will entertain a motion.
I will move that the commission approves a one-year time extension of the Planning Commission's April 6, 2022 approval of conditional use permit number 21-003, subject to the previously approved conditions of approval and based on the findings contained in the staff report.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any comment, discussion, excuse me. Yeah, this was a tough one. All right, well, hearing nothing, we can proceed to a vote.
Let the record show a motion was made by Commissioner Thompson, seconded by Commissioner Lowe to approve item 4A, CUP number 21-003, time extension. Motion passes with all ayes.
All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to item 5 of the agenda, Commissioner's comments. Are there any comments from the Commission?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, sir.
I actually have a question comment for staff. What is the status and what is happening with the abandoned construction on Cathedral Canyon just south of Palm Canyon Drive?
So that is an outstanding enforcement case. Code Compliance is working on that. I understand that the property is in transition. The last I heard that it was going through a sale process. I don't have a conclusive update this evening on the status of its sale, but Code Compliance staff is actively monitoring that property.
Thank you. The reason I was asking the question is because several neighbors in the area have asked me, because they know I'm on the commission, and they're concerned about the property becoming abandoned and rodents living there and so forth.
So there is an open code case, and if anyone is interested in speaking with staff to a greater extent or greater degree on that, they can reach out to me or to Justin Gardner, and we would be happy to provide additional information to the degree that we can on the property.
Thank you. That's it.
Vice Chair Mallon, any other comments? Nope. Okay, thank you. Item 6, City Attorney Report.
No report tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Item 7, City Planner Report.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Well, in that case, I will adjourn the meeting at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much.